On the morning of September 12, 2005, 29-year-old Emily Carter walked out of her Brooklyn apartment, ready for another day at work. The routine was simple: a 20-minute subway ride into the hustle and bustle of Midtown Manhattan. On this particular Monday, something went terribly wrong. Emily never arrived at her office. She simply vanished. The last confirmed sighting of Emily was at 8:17 a.m. Security footage from the subway station captured her on the platform waiting for the F train. She had a coffee in one hand, her phone pressed to her ear with the other, and she was smiling. Not just a polite smile, but a genuine, happy smile. It's a haunting image because it's the last one we have. She was talking to someone, seemingly at ease, just moments before she disappeared into thin air. Then the unthinkable happened. The security camera feed cut out, a technical glitch, the authorities called it. For 37 crucial seconds, there was nothing but a blank screen. When the footage resumed, the platform was still there. The morning commuters were still rushing by, but Emily Carter was gone. It was as if she had been erased. Investigators immediately started piecing together the puzzle. Her Metro card had been used only once that morning, right there at that station. This confirms she entered the system, but left no digital trail afterward. Her phone, which she was seen using just moments before, stopped pinging at 8:21 a.m. The last signal came from near York Street, a location far from her usual route, a place she had absolutely no reason to be. What was she doing there? Or more accurately, what was her phone doing there? The mystery only deepened when her belongings were discovered. Her handbag, containing her wallet and her ID, was found tossed inside a public trash bin, 3 blocks away from the station. Detectives initially suspected a random mugging gone wrong, a common enough tragedy in a city like New York. But the evidence didn't quite fit that theory. There were no signs of a struggle on the platform where she was last seen. Nothing was out of place, no scuff marks, no dropped items, nothing to suggest a violent confrontation. It was too clean, too quiet, and then there was the other security camera. The one on the adjacent platform positioned to capture a clear view of the F train's doors as they opened and closed. This camera should have recorded Emily either boarding the train or being forced away, but it didn't. When investigators reviewed the footage, they found it was angled just slightly upwards, pointing at the ceiling. It was almost as if someone had deliberately and carefully adjusted it just enough to create a perfect blind spot. Was this a coincidence? Another technical fluke? Or was it a calculated move by someone who knew exactly what they were doing? Someone who wanted to ensure their actions remained unseen. As the police dug deeper, they spoke to Emily's roommate, Rachel. Her testimony cast a chilling new light on the case. Rachel told detectives that in the week leading up to her disappearance, Emily had been receiving a series of strange phone calls. They came from a blocked, untraceable number. Emily had been unnerved by them. She had confided in Rachel, referring to the mysterious caller as the man from the train. Who was this man? Was he the person she was smiling at on the phone just before she vanished? Did she know him? Was she meeting him? Or was she trying to get away from him? These questions hung heavy in the air with no answers in sight. The phrase "the man from the train" became the single most important clue in a case that had gone cold almost as soon as it began. Police tried to trace the calls, but with a blocked number from that era, it was a technological dead end. They looked into her social circles, her work life, her past relationships. They found nothing that pointed to a suspect or a motive. Emily was described by everyone as a bright, kind, and responsible young woman with no known enemies. She had a close-knit group of friends and a loving family who were thrown into a living nightmare. The media frenzy was intense at first. Emily's face was on every news channel, her story printed in every paper. Volunteers canvassed the city, putting up missing person posters on every corner. The smiling photo from the subway platform became an iconic, heartbreaking symbol of the case. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the story began to fade from the headlines. Other tragedies took its place, and the city moved on. But for Emily's family, and for the detectives who never closed her file, the case remained a constant nagging wound. Over the years, theories have swirled. Did she run away to start a new life? Her family insists this is impossible. She was happy, financially stable, and excited about her future. She wouldn't have just left everything and everyone she loved behind, especially not without her personal belongings. Was it a crime of opportunity? Perhaps, But the adjusted camera and the mysterious phone calls suggest a level of premeditation that goes beyond a simple mugging. This leads us back to the man from the train. This shadowy figure is the key. Was he a stalker she'd encountered on her daily commute? Someone who became obsessed? The fact that she was smiling on the phone could mean many things. Maybe it was a nervous smile, maybe she was trying to placate him. Or maybe, and this is a truly disturbing thought, it was someone she knew and trusted, someone who lured her away from the crowded platform under false pretenses. The location where her phone last pinged, near York Street, is an area with old warehouses and secluded spots, especially back in 2005. It would have been the perfect place for an abduction, away from prying eyes. Imagine the scenario. She's on the phone with him, says something like, "Hey, I'm just around the corner, my car broke down, can you help? Or I have a surprise for you. Meet me just outside the station." Something to make her deviate from her routine. To willingly walk away from the safety of the public space. Her trust, her kindness, may have been used against her. The 37-second gap in the security footage is the window of opportunity. It's all it would have taken for someone to lead her away from the platform, perhaps through a service exit or into a waiting vehicle. Today, nearly 2 decades later, Emily Carter's case remains one of New York's most perplexing unsolved mysteries. There have been no credible sightings, no ransom demands, no further clues. Just a 37-second void in a security tape and the ghost of a man on the other end of a phone line. Her family continues to hold out hope, waiting for a call that will finally bring them answers, that will finally bring Emily home. The police file is still open, waiting for that one tip, that one piece of new technology, that one person who knows something to come forward. The story of Emily Carter is a chilling reminder of how quickly a life can be upended, how a normal Monday morning can turn into an unending nightmare. It's a puzzle with too many missing pieces, and at its center is a smiling young woman, frozen in time, waiting for a train that she would never board. Thank you for joining me to explore this haunting case. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Emily Carter, please contact the New York Police Department. Your one small memory could be the key that unlocks this entire mystery. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more content, and hit the notification bell. Stay safe out there. Detective Laura Higgins stepped into Emily Carter's apartment 2 days after she vanished. The air was still, filled with the scent of lavender and old books. On the surface, it looked like a standard missing persons case. Maybe a runaway, maybe an abduction. But the deeper Laura dug, the less sense any of it made. Emily wasn't the type to just disappear. At her high-powered marketing firm in Manhattan, her colleagues described her as a rising star, punctual, driven, and recently promoted. Her desk was immaculate, a testament to her organized mind. Her social calendar was full, not empty. She had dinner plans with her mother on the very night she went missing, a date she would never have broken. Her rent was paid up for the month, and her fridge was stocked with groceries for the week. There were no signs of a struggle, no packed bags, no farewell notes. It was as if she had simply evaporated from her own life. The case felt like a dead end, a puzzle with all the crucial pieces missing. That is, until Laura met Rachel, Emily's roommate. Rachel was distraught, her eyes re-dimmed from crying, but she knew she had to help. She remembered something, an old phone Emily kept in a drawer. It was a relic from another era, a flip phone with a cracked screen, but it still held a charge. Laura took the phone back to the precinct, her heart thumping with a mix of hope and dread. As she scrolled through the call logs, a pattern emerged that sent a shiver down her spine. 9 missed calls, all from a private, untraceable number. It all come in over a 4-day period. Between September 8th and 11th, each call was a silent, unanswered question. But it was the final call that changed the trajectory of the entire investigation. It was made at 8:13 a.m., on the morning Emily disappeared. This time someone had answered. The call lasted 52 seconds. 52 seconds that could hold the key to everything. The audio file was sent to the forensics lab. Technicians worked their magic, filtering out the static and amplifying the faint whispers of the past. The first sound they isolated was the distinct, jarring screech of a train's brakes, metal grinding against metal. It was the sound of a subway car pulling into a station. Emily had taken the F line to work every single day. Then they found the voice. It was a man's, low and muffled, almost a whisper, but heavy with menace. Through the layers of digital noise, two words emerged, clear and chilling. "You shouldn't have called. You shouldn't have called." The phrase hung in the air of the briefing room, stark and terrifying warning. It shifted the entire focus of the investigation. This wasn't a random abduction. Emily knew her attacker. She had reached out to him, and in doing so had sealed her fate. The hunt was now on for the owner of that voice. The team immediately began a massive undertaking, reviewing countless hours of surveillance footage from every F-line station in the city. They painstakingly scanned a sea of faces, a river of commuters flowing through the city's arteries, looking for any sign of Emily, any clue, any anomaly. For days they found nothing. The footage was a blur of anonymous figures, each lost in their own world. Hope began to wane, and then they saw it. On the platform at the 23rd Street station at 8:14 a.m., just moments after that fateful call, there she was. Emily Carter, standing near the edge of the platform, looking down the tracks. But it wasn't Emily who caught the detective's attention. It was the figure behind her, a man in a dark gray coat, standing several feet back, partially obscured by a pillar. He wasn't looking at Emily. He wasn't looking at the tracks. He was looking directly into the camera. His face was a mask of cold indifference, expressionless, unmoving. A predator in plain sight. Excitement surged through the team. This was their guy. They had him. They began to pull the footage from every camera angle, scrubbing backward and forward, trying to track his movements to see where he came from, where he went. That's when the true horror of the situation began to set in. As they reviewed the footage frame by frame, they realized something that defied all logic. The man in the gray coat wasn't in any other frame. He didn't walk onto the platform. He didn't arrive on a previous train. He didn't come down the stairs. He was just there. For a single, frozen second, captured in one solitary frame, he existed on that platform, staring into the lens. And in the very next frame, he was gone. Vanished, just like Emily. The digital forensics team ran every enhancement protocol they had. They zoomed in, sharpened the image, trying to get a clearer look at his face. But the closer they looked, the more distorted the image became. It was as if the camera itself couldn't fully comprehend what it had seen. The atmosphere in the precinct turned from one of determined investigation to one of quiet, creeping fear. Who was this man? Or what was he? How could someone appear and disappear from a crowded subway platform, unseen by anyone, existing only for a fraction of a second on a security tape? The case of Emily Carter was no longer about a missing person. It had become a brush with the inexplicable, a journey into a shadow world that operated by rules no one understood. Detective Higgins looked at the single, haunting image of the man in the gray coat, a ghost in the machine. She knew this was more than a case. It was a nightmare, and she was standing right at the edge of it, staring into the abyss. And the most terrifying part? She had the distinct feeling that the abyss was staring back. This case remains unsolved, a chilling file in the NYPD's cold case archives. A story that serves as a stark reminder that sometimes the most terrifying mysteries are the ones that have no answers. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as chilling as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a case that starts with a simple, everyday routine and spirals into a chilling mystery. This is the story of Emily's disappearance. 3 days. 72 agonizing hours had passed since anyone had seen or heard from Emily. For Detective Higgins, the investigation was just beginning. The first stop was a small, unassuming coffee shop directly across from the subway entrance. It was a place of comfort for many, a daily ritual. For Emily, it was no different. The owner, a kind man named Miguel Alvarez, greeted the detective with a weary expression. He knew why she was there. Emily's face had been on the news for 2 straight days. "Yes, I remember her," Miguel said, his voice heavy. "She came in almost every morning. It's always the same order. A latte, no sugar." He gestured towards the espresso machine, as if the memory was brewed right into the shop's atmosphere. Higgins nodded, her pen poised over her notebook. "Did you see her on Monday morning? The day she went missing?" Miguel paused, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Yes, I did." But that morning was different. He leaned forward over the counter, lowering his voice. There was a man with her. Or rather, he approached her at the counter. This was the first real lead. A man, Higgins prompted. Can you describe him? Older Miguel replied. Maybe late 30s. He was tall, well-dressed. I remember he was wearing a gray coat. The same one seen in that grainy subway surveillance footage. The pieces were starting to connect, however faintly. He paid for her drink, Miguel added, insisted on it. But she didn't seem happy about it at all. In fact, she looked ... uncomfortable, almost scared. An unwelcome gesture from a stranger, something more sinister. Higgins thanked Miguel for his time and immediately asked to see the payment records for that morning. As she scanned the list of transactions, she found what she was looking for. There was no charge under Emily's name, confirming Miguel's account. But there was a purchase for 2 lattes, paid for with a corporate card. The name on the card read, Daniel Cross. The name meant nothing to Higgins at first, but the company name on the card was a lightning bolt. It was the same marketing firm where Emily worked, a colleague. Higgins's instincts told her this was no coincidence. Back at the precinct, the detective dove into the company's internal records. She quickly found Daniel Cross in the employee database. He was a contractor, his photo matching Miguel's description, late 30s, sharp features, a confident smile that now seemed predatory. But then, a crucial detail emerged. Daniel Cross hadn't worked there for the past 2 weeks. He had resigned suddenly, citing personal reasons, and left no forwarding address. A sudden resignation just before Emily's disappearance. The timing was too perfect, too suspicious. Higgins dug deeper, cross-referencing HR files, and then she found it. The missing piece of the puzzle that turned a person of interest into a prime suspect. A formal HR complaint, filed by Emily just 1 month before she vanished. The subject of the complaint? Daniel Cross. The reason? Persistent and unwanted attention. The report detailed a pattern of behavior that had escalated over weeks. Unsolicited emails, waiting for her after work, trying to insert himself into her daily routines, like her morning coffee. Emily had documented everything, hoping HR would resolve it. Instead, it seemed to have triggered something far worse. Higgins now had a name and a motive. The next step was to find him. She ran his name through every law enforcement database she could access. His last known address was a rented apartment in Queens. His phone number, the one listed on his work file, was already disconnected. He was covering his tracks. Wasting no time, Higgins and her partner drove to the Queens apartment. They found a building manager who let them into the recently vacated unit. The place was eerily empty. The air was stale, the floors swept clean. It looked like a ghost had lived there. No furniture, no clothes, no personal belongings. It had been professionally cleaned, scrubbed of any potential evidence, any trace of the man who lived there. Daniel Cross was a phantom. Disappointment settled heavily in the room. It felt like another dead end. Higgins walked through the barren rooms, her flashlight beam cutting through the dim light. As she entered the small kitchen, she noticed something on the counter. It's left behind as if by mistake or perhaps as a message. It was an F-line subway map, folded neatly. Higgins picked it up, her heart pounding. 2 stations were circled in bold red ink. The first was York Street, the station in Dumbo where Emily's phone had given its last desperate ping before going silent. That they already knew. But it was the second circle that made the detective's blood run cold. Roosevelt Island. A small island in the East River, a place no one had thought to search, was a location with no obvious connection to Emily or her life. Why there? Higgins stared at the map, the 2 red circles like glaring eyes in the empty apartment. This wasn't a mistake. It was a clue. A taunt. Daniel Cross was playing a game, and he had just shown his hand. The quiet, desolate parts of Roosevelt Island. Yes. With its abandoned hospitals and dense foliage, suddenly felt like the most terrifying place on Earth. The search for Emily had a new, urgent destination. The race against time had just begun. Thank you so much for watching. The search for answers in Emily's case is far from over. What do you think the significance of Roosevelt Island is? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into fascinating cases. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a case that has baffled investigators for years. A story of secrets buried just beneath the bustling surface of New York City. This is the story of Emily Carter's disappearance and the chilling clues left behind. It all begins on a cold Friday morning on Roosevelt Island, that narrow strip of land nestled between Manhattan and Queens. The air is still, broken only by the hum of the iconic red tramway overhead and the gentle lapping of the East River. Detective Higgins arrives on the scene, her breath misting in the frigid air. Her destination? An abandoned service tunnel sealed off to the public since the late 90s, a forgotten relic of the city's past. Why this tunnel? Maintenance records had unearthed a crucial link. A man named Daniel Cross, a contractor, had access to this very tunnel. As Detective Higgins follows the subway line toward the tunnel's entrance, a sense of foreboding hangs in the air. The area is desolate, marked by a line of rusted metal fencing. And there, half buried in the damp, cold dirt, something glints in the weak morning light. Higgins kneels down, her gloved fingers carefully brushing away the soil. Simple, elegant, and engraved with two small initials. E.C. Emily Carter. The first solid piece of evidence. The discovery triggers a flurry of activity. Crime scene teams are called in immediately, their vans and equipment a stark contrast to the quiet neglect of the area. They cordon off the scene, meticulously scanning every inch of ground. But they hit a major obstacle. The tunnel itself is flooded. Murky water fills the passage halfway down, making a full search impossible. What secrets does that dark water hold? Right. Despite the setback, the team manages to recover a few items from the accessible part of the tunnel. A broken phone battery, which is later matched to the model of Emily Carter's old flip phone. In a small, torn piece of fabric, a fragment that appears to be from her beige coat, the one she was last seen wearing. The items are rushed to the lab for analysis. The results come back, confirming what Higgins already suspected. The DNA on the silver bracelet is a perfect match for Emily Carter. But the lab report contains another, more perplexing detail. It's a second unidentified DNA profile on the bracelet. Someone else had touched it. Was it the person who left it there? While the physical evidence points to this desolate corner of the island, another piece of the puzzle is uncovered through digital forensics. Investigators pull security footage from the Roosevelt Island tram. The camera, perched high above, captures everything. They rewind to September 12th, the day Emily disappeared. And there he is. At 8:28 a.m., a man steps off the tram. His build, his height, he matches the description of Daniel Cross. In the grainy footage, Cross is carrying a large, black duffel bag. He walks with a purpose, heading toward the southern end of the island. The investigators watch, their eyes glued to the screen. 40 minutes tick by, and the camera captures him again. He's returning to the tram station, but something is different. The black duffel bag is gone. What was in that bag? Where did he leave it? This footage galvanizes Detective Higgins. The southern end of the island is a maze of construction zones, a landscape of half-finished apartment buildings, skeletal steel frames, and lots fenced off from the public. It's the perfect place to hide something, or someone. Higgins immediately files for a warrant to conduct a full, comprehensive search of every single construction site on the southern tip of Roosevelt Island. It's a massive undertaking, but she knows the answer has to be there. The paperwork is filed, the request is in, and the waiting game begins. Every hour that passes feels like an eternity. But before the warrant can even be approved, a new chilling development arrives at the NYPD headquarters. An anonymous envelope with no return address lands on a desk. Inside, there's no letter, no note, no demand, just a single photograph. The photo is grainy, clearly taken from a distance. It shows a woman, her back to the camera, standing near a waterfront railing. Her silhouette is unmistakable. It's Emily Carter. But the most terrifying detail isn't the image itself. It's the timestamp. It's printed in the corner of the photo, September 13th. That's one full day, asterisk after asterisk. She was officially reported missing. One day after Daniel Cross was seen on the tram, this single photograph shatters their entire timeline. Emily was alive the day after she disappeared. The photo proves it. But it also raises horrifying new questions. Who took this picture? Were they with Emily? Were they holding her against her will? The image was taken from behind, a clandestine shot, suggesting the photographer did not want to be seen. It feels like a taunt, a message sent directly to the police. Someone is watching. Someone knows exactly what happened to Emily Carter, and they're playing a game. The investigation is now a race against a ticking clock, with an unseen adversary who seems to be one step ahead. The anonymous photo changes everything, turning a missing persons case into something far more sinister. The focus shifts from what happened in the past to who is controlling the present. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive with me today. The layers of this case are just beginning to unfold, and we'll be following every twist and turn. If you found this story as compelling as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. The photograph changed everything. It wasn't just another piece of evidence. It was the key that unlocked the entire case. Looking at it, Detective Higgins felt a chill run down his spine. The timestamp was crucial, yes, but it was what Emily was wearing that truly mattered. The picture she had on the exact same beige coat she was seen wearing in the subway footage. Her hair was tied up, just like in the grainy security video. And there on her left wrist, a faint purplish bruise was visible. A detail no one could have known unless they were there. The location was undeniable. The distinctive skyline, the angle of the bridge. It was the southern pier of Roosevelt Island.
Ice.
But here's the thing. That area had been closed to the public since 2005. It was a construction zone, fenced off and patrolled. How could she have been there, and who took this picture? Higgins immediately sent the photo to the forensics lab, his mind racing. The call he got back an hour later only deepened the mystery. The print wasn't digital, was developed on old photographic paper, the kind that hadn't been sold since 2003. This meant their suspect didn't just have a camera, they had access to a darkroom. This was methodical, deliberate. Higgins needed a new angle. If the pier was a construction site, there must be records. He started digging through the city's archives, pulling up construction permits for Roosevelt Island. And that's when he found it. A single contractor company had been awarded to major projects in the area, the subway tunnel maintenance and the development of the new pier. It was the same company Daniel Cross worked for. The connection was no longer a coincidence. It was a lead. Higgins knew he had to find someone who worked with Cross, someone who might have noticed something out of the ordinary. His search led him to George Myers, the site supervisor for the pier project. He was a weathered man with tired eyes who remembered Daniel Cross all too well. He was quiet, Myers said, leaning against a stack of blueprints. Too quiet, you know? Kept to himself? Never joined the guys for a drink after work. Always the last one to leave. Myers paused, his gaze drifting towards the distant, sealed-off pier. Stayed late a lot. I remember one night must have been after midnight. I saw him near the pier. I asked him what he was doing, and he said he was checking the water pumps. But that didn't make any sense. That whole area was sealed off. The pumps weren't even active. Higgins felt the pieces clicking into place. Cross had a reason to be there, a reason he lied about. Pressed Myers for more. Was there anywhere he could have gone? Anywhere someone could be hidden? Myers thought for a moment, rubbing his chin. There was a shed down there, he finally said, his voice dropping slightly. A temporary storage unit for tools and supplies. It got cleared out a few weeks ago. They're about to demolish it, finish covering it with landfill. He looked Higgins directly in the eye. But if I were you, I'd want to look inside before they finish the job. That was all Higgins needed to hear. He raced to the site that night, the flashing lights of the patrol cars cutting through the darkness. The demolition crew had already started. The shed was half demolished, a wreck of corrugated metal and splintered wood. It was a race against time. The detectives swarmed the area, their flashlights scanning every inch of the debris. Under a pile of old hardened cement bags tucked away in a corner, one of the officers found it, a small plastic sleeve, surprisingly clean amidst the rubble. Higgins took the package, his hands steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Inside was a set of Polaroids, His heart sank as he looked at the first one. It was Emily. She was sitting in a chair, blindfolded, her face pale with fear. The background looked like a maintenance room with pipes and wiring visible on the walls. Each picture was a different snapshot in time stamped hours apart, documenting her terrifying ordeal. He flipped through them, each image more harrowing than the last. Then he got to the final one. It was a close-up of the empty chair. Scrawled across the bottom, in stark blue pen, were 5 chilling words. She shouldn't have called. The phone call to her sister, the one that was cut short? Cross wasn't just a suspect anymore. He was a predator who had left a taunting, terrifying message. And now, Higgins knew he was hunting a monster. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the case. If you find these investigations as compelling as I do, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And ring the bell so you don't miss our next episode. Stay curious and stay safe. For days. That's how long it took Detective Higgins to find Daniel Cross. He wasn't hiding in some elaborate bunker or a secret safe house. No, he was in a rundown motel in Queens, just staring at a flickering TV screen. A half-empty bottle of water was the only thing on the nightstand. He didn't run, didn't fight. It was as if he was waiting for them. At the station, the air was thick with tension. Higgins, a veteran detective who'd seen it all, slid a stack of Polaroid photos across the cold metal table. The images were chilling. Emily Carter, her eyes covered by a blindfold, her face a mask of pure terror. Anyone would expect a reaction, a gasp, a flinch, anything. But Daniel? He barely blinked. My voice was soft, almost a whisper when he finally spoke. "I didn't take them," he said, his gaze unwavering. "But I know who did." And that's when the story took a sharp, unexpected turn. This wasn't a simple kidnapping. According to Daniel, Emily, his girlfriend, had stumbled upon something big, something dangerous, at the marketing firm where she worked. She had found a secret fund, a ghost account called Hale Transfers. And who was behind it? Her boss, Richard Hale, a powerful executive with a reputation for silencing anyone who dared to question him. Daniel leaned forward, the first sign of real emotion flickering in his eyes. "She found out they were moving company money," he explained. "Millions of dollars funneled into fake consulting accounts. This was corporate espionage on a massive scale. Emily had the proof, and she was terrified. She called me that morning," Daniel continued, his voice cracking slightly. "Said someone was outside her apartment, watching her. I told her to get out of there, to take the F train and meet me at York Street." The detectives checked his story. Daniel's transit records confirmed it. He was on that train, heading to the rendezvous point on Roosevelt Island, right at the same time Emily was supposed to be there. But his alibi was also the beginning of the real mystery. "We were supposed to meet," he said, his voice dropping. "She had the evidence on a flash drive, but she never showed up." He paused, taking a shaky breath, and then he delivered the detail that would haunt Detective Higgins for years to come. "She called again at 8:21 a.m., but it wasn't her voice I heard. A chilling silence fell over the interrogation room." "It was a man," Daniel whispered. "He said you shouldn't have called." Then the line went dead. The forensics team went to work immediately. They analyzed the audio from that final, terrifying call. The results were conclusive. The voice on the other end of the line did not belong to Daniel Cross. He was telling the truth. Someone else had Emily's phone. Someone else had Emily. With this new information, the investigation shifted its focus entirely. It was no longer about a jealous boyfriend. It was about a corporate cover-up that had turned deadly. That same night, detectives executed a search warrant. Not for an apartment or a motel room, but for a dusty storage area beneath the gleaming headquarters of the marketing firm. Behind a false panel, hidden away from the world, they found a scene of calculated destruction. Burned files, their edges blackened and curled, a pile of discarded security keycards. And in the middle of it all, the partial remains of an employee folder. Just a single letter was visible on the charred tab. E. Next to it, the last name, Carter. But the most damning piece of evidence was the digital trail. The firm's security logs showed that Emily Carter's access card had been used to enter the building 2 hours after she vanished from the subway system. Someone had brought her back, not to her home, not to a secret location, but to her own workplace, the very place she had tried to expose. Whoever had her had also tried to wipe her from existence. They burned her files, deactivated her access, and meticulously scrubbed every digital trace of her from the company's records. It was as if Emily Carter had never worked there at all. The question was no longer just where's Emily? It was now who was so desperate to silence her, and what else were they hiding in the shadows of that corporation? The conspiracy was far deeper than anyone had imagined, and the search for Emily had just become a race against a powerful and ruthless enemy. Thank you so much for watching. If you're intrigued by mysteries like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next. See you in the next video. The disappearance of Emily Carter is a story that has haunted the NYPD for decades. It's a case that started with a missing person report and spiraled into a dark tale of corporate secrets and a chilling final message. Let us unravel the final days of Emily Carter and the mystery that remains unsolved to this day. On September 12, 2005, Emily Carter, a bright and ambitious employee at a bustling New York marketing firm, vanished without a trace. The initial investigation stalled. Her apartment was untouched, her bank accounts were frozen in time, and there were no credible sightings. The only lead was a strange one, a report of a workplace dispute with a senior executive, Richard Hale. But with no evidence, the case grew cold. The first major break came not from a witness, but from the ashes of a fire. A seemingly unrelated incident weeks later, a fire at the marketing firm. Records storage led investigators to a discovery they never expected. A forensic team, sifting through the charred remains, found a single heat-warped flash drive. Miraculously, the data was recoverable. What they found on that drive changed everything. It was a single video file, time-stamped just hours before Emily was last seen. The video showed Emily sitting at her desk, staring directly into a hidden camera. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were filled with a fear she couldn't hide. "If something happens to me," she began, "check the company's servers. There's a folder named Hale Transfers. I copied everything. They'll know I did." Her words were a bombshell. It was clear she knew she was in danger because of something she had discovered. The folder she mentioned, Hale Transfers, suggested a financial crime, likely involving the senior executive she had reportedly argued with, Richard Hale. She had created an insurance policy, a digital breadcrumb trail for investigators to follow if the worst were to happen. Just as she finished speaking, her eyes darted off camera, as if someone had just walked into her office. A flicker of panic crossed her face. "I just want this to stop," she whispered, her voice barely audible. And then, the video abruptly cut out. The silence that followed was deafening. The metadata on the video file delivered another chilling piece of the puzzle. It was uploaded from Emily's own work computer, using her employee login, about 30 minutes after her last confirmed sighting. This meant the person who uploaded it likely had access to her office and her password. Was it Emily herself, in a final, desperate act? Or was it someone else, covering their tracks? Armed with this haunting video, the investigation now had a prime suspect, Richard Hale. The NYPD organized a raid on his home. What they found in his garage confirmed their darkest suspicions. Beneath a rolled-up carpet, forensic specialists discovered traces of blood on the underlay. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Emily Carter. In a burn barrel nearby, they also found fragments of incinerated documents, among them, a partially burned piece of an ID card with Emily's photo. Richard Hale was immediately arrested on suspicion of murder. The evidence seemed overwhelming. The video, the blood, the burned evidence, it all pointed directly to him. The city held its breath, waiting for a confession, for answers, for justice, for Emily Carter. But the answers never came. During his transfer to central booking, Hale was a stonewall. He refused to answer any questions, staring blankly ahead, offering neither a denial nor a confession. His silence was absolute. The man who held all the secrets to Emily's fate was determined to take them to his grave, and that's exactly what he did. Just 48 hours after his arrest, while in police custody, Richard Hale died by suicide. With his death, the last and best hope of ever finding Emily Carter, or even learning what truly happened to her, vanished forever. The Hale Transfers folder on the company's servers, it had been wiped clean, the data professionally erased beyond recovery. Without a body, and with the primary suspect gone, the case hit a dead end. In 2007, the NYPD officially closed the investigation into Emily Carter's disappearance. The official designation was homicide and recovered remains. She was legally declared dead. But the void her absence left was immense. Her body has never been found. The case of Emily Carter remains one of New York City's most tragic and haunting unsolved mysteries. It's a story about a woman who may have stumbled upon a crime and bravely tried to expose it, only to be silenced permanently. Every year on September 12th, the anniversary of her disappearance, a retired Detective Higgins, one of the lead investigators on the case, makes a quiet pilgrimage. He goes to Roosevelt Island and leaves a single white rose near the East River Pier. It's a place with a sweeping view of the Manhattan skyline, perhaps the last beautiful view of the city Emily loved. It's a small, solitary act of remembrance for a woman whose final moments are still shrouded in mystery. What did Emily find in those files? What was the full story behind the Hale transfers? And most importantly, where is Emily Carter? These are questions that tragically may never be answered. Thank you so much for watching. Stories of missing persons deserve to be told, and their memories deserve to be honored. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into cases like this one. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next video.